All right. Answers by guess. Week 9 guess. Holy crap.
Yeah, let's do it.
I love it. Guys, remember Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Always look for those hashtags. It looks fantastic there, bud.
I don't know.
We are Fantasy Football's inside scoop from outside the box. As Guest likes to say, this is by Mageddon.
Part 2.
Cleveland Browns, part 2. Good call. Cleveland Browns, Dallas Cowboys, Denver Broncos, New York Giants, Pittsburgh Steelers, and San Francisco 49ers. Got anybody in your lineup from those teams? Get them out. Talk about the Thursday game, sir.
Yeah, as anybody who pays attention on the page knows, when Tuesday night didn't do a show, Answers with Gas was too sick.
How you feeling, bud? Better?
Better. It's past couple days been coming out through the nose and through the throat. So,
ew.
Yeah. But I'm feeling better. But I was down and out. I mean, even on Sunday, I pretty much my wife and took the kids trunk or treating the day before Halloween. They went to 20 trunk or treats this year. It's insane, but whatever. It keeps them busy and they have fun. So we got tons of candy, but whatever. So she took them out of the house. So I started really not feeling good on Sunday, and I remember sleeping through most of the 1 o'clock games and waking up at 3:30, on the couch.
That's a good time to wake up, actually.
Yeah, on the couch and just catching the end of the games, and right before the 4 o'clocks, and they laid down again. They got home about 4:30. So anyways, long story short, I was sick, and so leading up to Thursday, didn't even really think about the game much because we didn't have a Tuesday show, so I didn't really analyze it. And until our conversation yesterday, we were texting, Rob and I, early on in the game and whatever, and you said something to me about Philly. They should be throwing more. I'm like, no, they shouldn't. You know what I mean? It's if because you could just run all over Houston. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much what they did in the first half. And then they started throwing in the second half when it was closer than it should have been. So anyways, if I would have analyzed the game and thought about it and put something out there, probably would have, been you're going to want to play the running backs. I told you I had a feeling Wendell Small was going to score a touchdown. He didn't do much else. Yeah, Smallwood. It's the same guy.
Yeah, same guy.
Kenneth Gainwell. I was surprised that Dameon Pierce did so well. I mean, I shouldn't be because, I was on him. We know this before anybody else really knew who he was. That's why in the 2 dynasty leagues that drafted before the preseason started, I have Dameon Pierce, and I don't have him in any leagues after that because everybody found out who he was. So, but he looks amazing, and it sucks that Cooks didn't play, but the game was pretty much how it was. Hurts would be able to throw as much as he wanted to. Devonta Smith was a disappointment once again. Goddard wasn't. A.J. Brown wasn't. Miles Sanders wasn't. And pretty much all you really have is Dameon Pierce because Cooks is quitting. And Chris Moore showed up, but you don't want to do anything with that. Oh, and what's his face? Was it Paris Campbell? Not Paris Campbell.
Philip Dorsett.
Philip Dorsett. Same exact person once again.
Yeah. You're 100% correct on that, man. Yeah. And it's funny. I think I was talking to somebody about how I think it was actually you. I was like, I feel like Houston's going to keep this game close for more than some reason. I think it was the spread was 13.5 or something like that.
They covered.
They did. They did cover, but that's the whole thing. I was like, they have to keep it close because everybody's going Philly, to blow them out. And that's what made me think it was going to be a passing game because get up big and then you just run the ball in the second half where they kind of did the opposite.
They did the opposite.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they kept it close to the beginning with the run. They did whatever they wanted to do, but they let Houston march down the field. So.
Yeah. Dameon Pierce, though, man. You're right. I like him. I have him in our biggest league. So.
Yeah, I'm happy that I have him in my 2 dynasty leagues.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely great.
If there's 2 leagues to have him in, I want him in my 2 dynasty leagues because And like so many people, well, not so many, but Vito for one, kept trying to get him off of me. Like once he learned who he was, along with the masses, I'm like, no, I drafted him to be one of my 5 keepers next year because we're only keeping 5 out of 20 next year. And we usually keep 15 out of 20. I said, no, I drafted him to be one because I knew that he was going to be really good.
All right, let's jump into this first game here. Los Angeles Chargers at the Atlanta Falcons. Chargers coming off the bye week. I expected Keenan Allen to play. I actually even mentioned in the last live session that I traded for Keenan Allen, thinking he was going to come off the bye. Mike Williams being out, Keenan Allen's out as well. Palmer and Carter are going everywhere. Who are you seeing getting the target share from there? And Eckler's been killing it before this bye week. Does he actually get slowed down a little bit by the bye week? On the flip side, Atlanta-Carolina game was the best game, I think, of the week last week. It was fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, it was.
Mariota had a couple mistakes, but he actually looked okay. This Chargers defense isn't that great. Could the Falcons actually play good at home against this team? And are you willing to start a bird if you're in a buy-mageddon situation?
Yeah, before we even get into this game, let's talk about that Carolina-Atlanta one just real quick. You know why? Good. You know why it was so good? Because Atlanta finally opened up their offense and threw the ball.
Yeah,
they got Kyle Pitts involved. They got London even involved. They were throwing the ball. They were running the ball, but they were throwing the ball. They were opening it up. And P.J. Walker, I think he found some in Terrace Marshall. And we liked Marshall in the preseason. We talked about him. He got hurt and sort of fell to the wayside. And Baker was terrible. But, Walker seems to like him. And DJ Moore crushed it. We loved DJ Moore last week. That's right. I couldn't recommend him, but we loved him. I was telling everybody to play DJ Moore without telling everybody to play DJ Moore. Yeah, exactly. I hope that they got the drift on that.
I think they did.
The other thing I want to talk about real quick is you mentioned that you traded for Keenan Allen. Rob, if there's one name about trades, what is it that you call me?
Trade whore.
Yeah. I've made 0 trades this year. I made 1 trade with you in the very, very early preseason. Nothing else. I've tried. I've asked people. You and I were even sort of discussing trades. But I'm gonna caution you something, okay? Because this is what I'm getting at. I tried to trade for Keenan Allen. I think I mentioned that on the show after you said you just did. I said I tried to. It was ignored. So every person that I've tried to trade for wound up being hurt and not playing for multiple weeks. So Rob, I made an offer for a couple of your guys, and if the trend continues, let's revisit this conversation.
Don't you put that voodoo on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that voodoo on me.
Guys that I had tried to get from people, it seems like the next week or that week, they wound up not playing, and then maybe not even the next week. And it's just like, oh, you should have traded me.
I'm sending it right now, bro. No.
Yeah, so to this game, the Chargers, I have to play this week. As of now, DeAndre Carter thought it would be a pretty good spot because Keenan Allen's not playing, but now he's sick. So he's sick. So Josh Palmer is the guy. No Parnham, so Everett's the guy. Eckler had a mysterious injury yesterday, and all of a sudden now there's no injury today.
I saw that.
It was his groin. But yesterday was his groin. Today they have it labeled as hip. Not even really the same body part, but whatever. He's fine. So I do think in the bye they probably got Isaiah Spiller, or at least tried to get him a little more up to speed. He kind of stunk in the preseason. He had a lot of hype, but that's why he got so far down the pecking order, even behind Sony Michel and Joshua Kelly, of course. I would say that probably during the bye week, they tried to get him a little more up to speed because they do want to take a little bit off Eckler's plate. Eckler wants a little off his plate. We know this, but I think Eckler in this one will be just fine. I think Joshua Palmer's in a great spot. If DeAndre Carter plays, Atlanta Falcons down their top 2 cornerbacks. A.J. Terrell being the number 1, and then the second one, they don't have as well. So they have the worst pass defense in the league, if not the second worst, like right around there. Now they don't have their top 2 corners. Sometimes that could be a good thing because you get guys who our second stringers in there that might be better than the starters, but the starters are in there because they got the bigger contracts and they flashed a little bit early, but probably not. So if DeAndre Carter does play, it's a pretty good play. I'm hoping he plays, but we saw what happened with Devontae Adams last week when he was sick, and he got shut down. I think he had 5 yards. The Raiders were a complete joke last week. So I like Allgeier in this one.
Patterson's coming back next week, right?
Yeah, you can run on the Chargers. I like Allgeier in this one. Huntley's looked pretty good. He looked really good last week.
They had an even split, man. That was actually interesting to me. I think they touched the ball like 17 or 16 times each or something like that.
I got a feeling Allgeier is going to break one this week. I think he's going to break one. 40 yards into the end zone, something like that. Something where they're
Allgeier. I hope you're right.
Where they're just over the 50 and they hand it off and he just breaks it and gets in. So let's see if that happens, because I just have a feeling, I have a vision. Let's see if that happens. And I think Pitts can keep it going. If they're going to have to open it up because the Chargers are going to be able to throw. Herbert's rib, you got to think, is healed by now. The bye week and everything, that was hindering him for a few weeks. That's why he's been kind of stinky. So the bye week definitely should have helped that. I think the Chargers are going to be able to score at will. And I think Atlanta found that they can take the reins off of Mariota and let him throw a little bit. The Chargers defense is still banged up, so you could still throw on them. This one has sneaky shootout-ish potential, I think, because guys like Bird and Zacchaeus, right? So I would not play them. Maybe Zacchaeus because there's a lot of injuries and a lot of buys. Maybe a wide receiver 3 flex if there's nothing else better out there, because he's good for 50 yards on a couple catches. But I think the key names in this one will be the ones to go after. And Carter is going to be the question mark for me and for a lot of people. Hopefully he could get healthy.
This could be a tight end game too, man. This may be, if you have tight ends that are out, this is the tight end game to start.
No.
All right, Miami Dolphin.
No, Parham is huge for Everett.
Oh, huge for Everett. Parham makes a totally different situation for Everett when he's there, just because I would want to use him because, what is he, 6'10" or something like that? Yeah, he's ginormous. Yeah. All right, next one here. Miami Dolphins and the Chicago Bears. Miami was in a close game against Detroit. It's either Detroit gets blown out or doesn't score any offense, or they're right in the game, possibly about to win it. But Miami, I mean, it's Waddle and Hill, obviously. Gesicki's been playing pretty well. Could he be a start this week? And with Edmonds gone, he didn't get much love anyways, but does it change anything for Mostert? Chicago on the other side, they lost handedly, but they weren't bad, I feel like. I actually feel like they did some things on offense that we've been kind of talking about. The trend seems to keep on. Justin Fields being picked up everywhere. Obviously, Claypool, the big move this week in the trade. How does that change the dynamic of everybody on this team?
Yeah, well, as far as Miami goes in that Detroit game last week, Detroit is so good, but they're so bad at the same time. Like, that is the number one hallmark of a bad team. They have done this pretty much in every game where they get out early, they have a big lead, and then the second half they just lose it. They lose the lead, they can't score, they can't stop them. That's just a hallmark of a bad team. But it's a team with promise for next year. I thought it would be this year. I think Detroit is going to be a force next year because they're going to fix the defense. They're going to learn how to close out games. But when you're playing against a team like Miami with the two guys on the outside, and now they're using Gesicki like I thought they would. I said that I think that they realize, he doesn't have to block all the time. He can catch passes, and coach is using him to do that. And they're still using Trent Sherfield every now and then, so that's going to create some problems for the Bears. But you had mentioned about Jeff Wilson coming in. He's stepping into his old coach's system. That was the head coach was his coach. Running backs coach, offensive coordinator at San Francisco with his buddy Mostert. So he's back with his buddy and his coach, who was his buddy. I think Jeff Wilson could not be in a better situation. I think if you're a Jeff Wilson owner, hopefully you held on to him. I know he was dropped and fantasized me. I saw Herm pick him up. I was considering I didn't have anybody drop at the time because I think this move is great to Miami. he's going to be probably one of the only players I think that got traded, like right at the deadline, that's going to have a significant impact as far as playing time this week, because he's jumping right into a system that he played in last year and the year before and the year before. So it's like there's nothing really to learn. It's just like, hey, hey, your buddy Mostert's here. Hey, buddy. And he just
Hey, bud.
pops right in. So I think Jeff Wilson is viable this week to play. Now, the Bears defense is getting a little bit better, but they're losing people.
Yeah, they traded Roquan and they traded Quinn.
Right. So they were getting better, but they're losing people. They're winning games, or at least being close in games, but they were trading people away. But they were also making trades. So it's really weird what Chicago's doing. I'm glad that they got Claypool. I love the fit. I called it a month ago plus. So Justin Fields is trending up. And look at him now. Just look at his fantasy statistics. From the moment I said it, and I think it was the Thursday night game. It was before that game where I made that mention where he missed 3 touchdowns by like a combined 3 inches.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it now for weeks. That would have been a 40-point game. Last week he had almost a 40-point game. So like he's been working towards that. I think bringing Claypool in is going to be huge for them. I don't think that this week or maybe even this season, Claypool will be ridiculous. He could give you wide receiver 2 fantasy numbers, but I think he's going to elevate the entire team because now Equanimeous St. Brown doesn't need to be a number 2. Now a little heat is going to come off of Darnell Mooney. So I think Claypool coming in is actually going to help Mooney. So people that are down on Mooney, I think you're going to see his participation and production elevate. Then the other guys they have, I can't think of the Pettis. Yep. And, we might see Komet. He got his touchdown last week.
Yeah, he called it. He called it touchdown.
He had like 2 catches for 1 yard or something like that. Something ridiculous. He had a touchdown. I had a feeling, and it happened. So we'll see if the same thing happens with Allgeier. But, yeah, being at home, they're going to have to score points. Fields uses his legs. I think he's a fine start in this one. If you have to absolutely use Claypool, you could get lucky in this. But they're saying he's going to play 15 to 30 snaps. I mean, that's half a game. So
I feel like an end around, like Justin Fields runs out, either St. Brown or Mooney come around, and he ends up throwing like a 20-yarder to Claypool to get him involved. I don't know. For some reason, that kind of sticks out in my mind.
Mooney can throw it.
And that's what I'm saying. It looks like that's what helped him in when he was with Pittsburgh and using that system. So if they can kind of utilize that, that gets Claypool involved to feel a part of the offense, which he's been missing being a part of Pittsburgh. So I like the move too, man. I honestly think that this young Bears team, just like Detroit, watch them. They're going to start. I think the turn to maybe Green Bay's on the downturn, and these two teams are on the upturn in the NFC North.
And Herbert is taking that job, man.
He's taking it. Day by day, man. Day by day. I love it. All right, Carolina Panthers at the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about the Panthers earlier, man. Terrence Marshall, Mr. DJ Moore. Yeah. I think it's a lot of good starts still against the Cincinnati Bengals defense, who's been playing better, but PJ Walker is starting to find a groove. I've been seeing Baker more on the field, but I don't think they're going to take Walker out if they're staying close in these games. They want to show that they have production, but what's the point of winning, to be honest with you? I mean, you're going to try to go for that first rounder. So, first pick.
Yeah.
Who are we starting from the Panthers? On the flip side, Boyd seems to be the guy now that Chase is out. Higgins kind of wasn't anything. Hurst wasn't really that much. It was more of a mix-in showing. What are you thinking as far as this Cincinnati Bengals team?
You had this same exact situation happen 2/3 weeks ago. Bengals got beat up. Offense did nothing. Then they go back home. Burrow explodes.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
All right.
That's what's going to happen. They're back home. They're going against the Panthers. Panthers defense is good, but the offense is going to explode in this one. Granted, they don't have Jamar Chase, but they got two options. Mike Thomas did nothing last week, as I pretty much, expected. I'm a fan of Mike Thomas as a football player. I have been for years, since I talked on the show in response to Darko's inquiry. But he's just a guy to run routes out there. But you'll probably see him be more productive. Burrow's back home after getting, for lack of a better term, embarrassed on Halloween. By the Browns, and they're going to make the Panthers pay. But I think the Panthers on offense, they found a little bit of a groove without Christian McCaffrey, without Robbie Anderson. What's his face? Deonta Foreman, the dude that I loved in 2017, all of a sudden appears. Chuba's out.
He is out.
Fire up Foreman. Regardless of Bengals rush defense, you fire up Foreman in this one for sure. And I like DJ Moore and I like Terrace Marshall in this one. Rob, I'm honestly going back and forth between, because I got Lazard, and I don't know if I trust his shoulder. He's going to take one hit and he's going to be out of the game. I'm screwed. And now DeAndre Carter being sick, I got to have my ears peeled. So, if anybody's watching this, and when we do our show Sunday morning, when the show's off the air, I'm unavailable.
Yeah,
I'm going to have honest because I need to
it.
see because I like Terrace Marshall so much because I feel like it's going to be such a volume play. Because I think the Bengals just aren't going to be stopped. Burrow's just going to be pissed. Mixon's going to get him involved. It's going to get Hurst involved. Probably use Evans a little out of the backfield. They're going to be all hands on deck. And the Panthers are going to have to pay for the Browns making them look like fools on Monday night. So I'm firing up my Bengals as if, you didn't need anybody to tell you that.
It's surprising, though. I've seen Carolina Panthers defense being picked up in a few places, and it kind of has me intrigued. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're actually playing well, but against the Cincinnati Bengals, who just got beat up on a Monday night game against the rivalry, I think you're right. I think they're going to start trying to show off, but again, it just seems like Carolina's kind of still playing okay after all the transition they've gone through.
And it's weird because, like you said, I do think, they have not Ritter. Who did they get? Matt Corral, is that whoever the quarterback? He got injured. He's on IR.
I have no
good rookie quarterback. I think it's Matt Corral. I want to say.
Okay.
I don't know. He's on IR. He got hurt in the preseason. He was pretty good. He got hurt before they brought Baker in. It was one of the reasons they brought Baker in because Darnold wasn't right. So they drafted him, but if they get the number one pick, which I don't know if they're going to, but if they do, they're taking a quarterback. Even if they get top 5, they're taking a quarterback next year.
Everyone's going to be gone.
Yeah. So it's like he's going to be like Will Greer, the guy they drafted this year. It's like, well, what'd you even waste the pick for? You never even let him see the field.
All right, let's go on to the last one here for this video. Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. Packers played okay. They didn't have the greatest game, but definitely a better offensive situation. It seemed like they used Aaron Jones. They finally got Dylan a little bit more involved, and he actually played okay. Dobbs with a touchdown. Torrey with a touchdown. Do we see more Torrey this game? Are we starting to see a trend? Like you mentioned, Lazard banged up. Aaron Rodgers has to start trusting somebody or throwing to these guys. Could he be getting an uptick? On the flip side, Detroit, we mentioned with the Miami game, Swift coming back, but I'm going to use him to see what the situation's going to be like for him. As a fantasy owner of Swift right now, I have no clue. I don't think I'm going to play him because I don't want to see. That could just turn out bad. What happens if he re-injures himself? Let's talk about that situation. And who are we playing as far as the Lions wide receivers? No more Hawk.
Yeah, well, as far as Green Bay goes, I had sort of mentioned on our show that I had this feeling that they could beat the Bills. If they don't go for that early 4th down at the Bills' 45-yard line, I think that game is one possession back and forth throughout. They went for it early on. I guess it's the right call. I think it's the wrong call, but they tried to figure out we're down offensively. We got to take this chance. I think it was 4th and 3 at like the 45 or something of Buffalo, and they went for it. I don't remember dropped it. But the play before it was Christian Watson. He got 7 yards. And they got hurt. They had momentum. They were driving down the field. He got hurt. A big timeout, injury timeout, and they let Buffalo regain themselves. It killed the momentum. They went for it. They didn't get on fourth down. Buffalo right down the field scored a touchdown. Next thing you know, they scored another touchdown. It's like, okay, so now, you shot yourself in the foot. But back to this game, Toure, he threw to him a couple times, and if you watch the broadcasters, they detailed it perfectly. And I really like that. Who was it? Is it Herb Street that's doing, or is he doing Thursdays? Was it Collinsworth? Sunday night?
Sunday nights.
Rico? It must be Collinsworth. Whoever it was, and Collinsworth saying that he said something smart is a little bit of an oxymoron, but what Toure did was he had a route to run.
Yeah, Collinsworth.
But he realized that it was covered there, so he turned and went the other way into the open field, and that's where Favre threw it to him wide open in the end zone. That one touchdown that Toure caught, 30, 40 yards, whatever it was, 20, 30, 40 yards, wide open in the end zone. That type of, and this was what Collinsworth said, that's spot on, that type of route running or non-route running, just getting into open space is what Rodgers loves. A receiver to make a smart decision, get open, and you can throw it to him, and he caught the ball. Play before that, he almost caught an underthrown ball. Rodgers went right back to him after he made a smart. Like, that's the type of thing that Rodgers is going to say, okay, you did something smart, I will reward you with targets. So, yeah, I mean, Toure was almost a guesstimator. But because I saw Lazard coming back, and I thought his shoulder was better, but now LaFleur is saying he might not even play. It's going to be a game time decision. So now it's like, whatever. But Dobbs made up for it with his touchdown. Amazing catch.
Yep.
Yeah. Rodgers loves that, so they're going to need him. Watkins is trash. Don't even bother with it. Watson still hasn't cleared concussion protocol. Dude can't stay healthy. When I watch him playing on the football field, he looks out of sorts. Like, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He doesn't look like, nothing is fluid with him.
Him and Sky Moore feel like are in the same boat.
Yeah,
man.
He's worse than Sky Moore to me. I don't understand what the prospects were with this guy. Why so many people are so high on him. I'm glad that I like Dobbs better than him going into the preseason. And then there's a player that I don't like that I'll give you a wink to, that I think is going to have a really big game in this one. He's got the same name as you.
Bobby, yeah.
You are Bobby T.
I am.
By the way.
Technically. I hate Bobby. Why change it? Why change the R to a B? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I don't even understand how that happens.
It's like the whole Richard Dick thing. What?
Yeah. Both of those are worse than James to Jim. Why not Jam?
Yeah, Jam.
And the running backs. I mean, Detroit's defense is terrible. So I think Dylan will get going this one. He kind of got going a little bit last week, like we thought. Didn't do as good as it was against Buffalo. This is Detroit. Packers offense in this one. I really like Aaron Rodgers in this one. I think you're going to get the first 3 touchdown Aaron Rodgers game of the year here, because I don't think he's had 3 yet. I think it's been 2. It's been his max. I think you're going to get 3 in this one, and you're going to probably get 1 or 1 each at least for the running back. I can see him putting up 35 plus on Detroit. Detroit's going to score points though. Amon-Ra's going to do well because the Packers defense is stupid. Swift will be fine. Jamal against his old team will do something. And James Mitchell, I believe, is the rookie tight end for Detroit. I know that they have Brock as the starter at this point. I believe that's his name.
Yeah, Brock, right, yeah. But James Mitchell is
James Mitchell is a name to know, everybody. So I hope you're watching the show. Tight end heavy leagues. I picked up James Mitchell as soon as that trade went down in a league where I have to start 2 tight ends, a dynasty league. Picked him up right away. And I also picked him up in my other dynasty league because I had somebody went on IR. Irv Smith. So I was like, well, let me just pick up James Mitchell. So it's a name to know. They're going to use him. So aside from that, though, I don't want to touch Reynolds. I don't even know if he's playing. Chark's been dead for weeks. When is Jameson Williams going to play ever? So they've got weapons, but it's really the two running backs, maybe the rookie tight end if he pops, and Amon-Ra. And I think Amon-Ra's going to have a big game. We're going to see a early season Amon-Ra in this one.
Reynolds is doubtful.
Yeah.
All right. Remember, guys, like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Always look for those hashtags. We appreciate you watching, and we'll be right back for video number 2.
Those.
Dos.